The stories of the earliest humans may have been lost throughout civilization, while history seems to have been forgotten. Although geologists think that rocks are generated by the intense heat and pressure of the Earth's crust, one question still baffles many. Were all these rocks actually formed naturally or by ancient humans?
These columnar joints formed long before even human existence scientifically. Normally what exposes rocks are the weathering. The surface will be broken down smaller fragments, and then rainfall will erode and then wash the remaining and expose them perfectly. Most of these hills, like I said, were deeply buried. You see them on the surface today because they have been exposed as a result of weathering process.
Journey with us to the enigmatic town of Billiri in the heart of northeast Nigeria, where a mystery rock lies shrouded in tales of ancient lore and lost civilization. Could it be that the earliest humans left a mark on this land that has been forgotten by time? As we explore this mystical terrain, we hear from the Tangali people who have called this place home for centuries.
All I can tell you is that our great-grandparents settled at the foot, midway in the rock. The rock has been there, and the rock is made in such a fascinating manner, especially if you climb to the top. You realize that it is so arranged that it's quite unbelievable, quite marvelous.
Although the history of this rock's development may be traced to as far back as before the first settlers arrived, there is no written record to support the assertion that the mystery rock was arranged by humans. We learn of their migration from Yemen and how they settled by the rock, which still stands tall to this day.
The Tangali people are believed to have migrated from Yemen. Yemen is in Middle East, geographically, okay? They settled in very many locations, one of which is Ngazargamu in present-day Borno State, okay? And they traveled far and far and far, and they were organized. Some other historical writers say that the Tangali people came with a book, could be a copy of the Torah. And Middle East or Yemen is about the area where life started, and then the Tower of Babel issue. You see the connection, languages were confused, and it is there they were dispersed. And so it's possible they came with a book, which could be the Torah. And that book appears to have been missing. We came down to Kalam, which is in present-day Duku. If you go to present-day Duku, you see at the plateau a very wide plain and with 7 settlements, which include Tangle and Waja and Bole, and some other ethnic groups that are resident within Gombe State. And so we left Kalam, we went to Kupto, which is just at the shore of present-day Gongala River. Okay? So Then movement came on until we finally settled at the peak here, the present day Tangali, Kufai, we call it.
But what of the secrets hidden within this pyramid-shaped structure? Although there are other rocks in this town, this one appears to be set up like a pyramid. Each side of each piece is composed of a pentagon with 5 sides, while the arrangement resembles that of the other sides. Could this also means that Nigeria had its own pyramid that has not been discovered by archaeologists?
When you climb the rock, you will notice that something happened. You can start to imagine what actually happened, because you will notice that there was settlement long time ago, but we don't know what happened that disrupted that settlement. But what we are witnessing is that there are segments of the rock that you can start thinking something happened. Is it volcanic eruption? Something magic that happened. Nobody can tell exactly what has happened. But it's very interesting to know actually what was the cause of this rock, that it is presently segmented into many parts. And by mere seeing it, it will interest you, because it's not easy. It's not man-made. Nobody can make that thing. No human being can produce that thing. It's only God. So you can try to imagine what actually happened to that rock. Well, but from my opinion, I still have the opinion that something erupted long time immemorial.
I admired the place, and I decided to take my time to find out where were the people settled, which was the settlement of the various clans, what actually prompted the people to stay on the hills. From time to time, I used to go there to find out how did this come about. I inquired from the elderly whether there was that was as a result of the activities of the ancient. But actually, the answer was that that was from God. God decided to carve it that way. And you know, once you mention God decided to carve it that way, that was the end of the matter, because you can't go beyond.
Traces of a lost hamlet made up of 7 Tangali huts are still visible on the rock. Historians believe this was where they lived before migrating to the modern-day Billiri town in 1937.
To lokacin ma turawa ne da suka zo suka ce to ya kamata mu baro can dutse, sai muka baro dutse. Don lokacin I will not forget, ba zan manta ba, Queen Elizabeth ta zo ta ba wa namban yabo wa shi mai yamba, wanda turawa suka zo suka same shi, suka mai da shi shine sarki na farko na haɗin kan kasan Tangali, United Tangali kenan. To shi mai yamba, mutanenmu sun je yakin duniya na ɗaya, sun je na biyu. To na biyu din sun yi na ɗayan sun je da yawa ba dama. Queen Elizabeth ta aiko, aka zo aka ba shi namban yabo, har ta sa mu sauko daga duwatsun nan a zuwa nuna mana inda za mu zauna. Shine muka zo muka zauna nan, ita kuma ta taimaka mana, aka sa a ba mu tutone rijiyoyi, in ba inda za ka yi ba ruwa, ta sa aka tutone rijiyoyi ba don wani abu ba, don guduma wanda mutanenmu suka bayar a yakin duniya.
Locals here tell tales of giants who lived in the rocks, an oral tradition that has been passed on for generations. Yet, historians cannot find scientific evidence to support this claim. The indigenous community is predominantly made up of hunters and farmers, and their culture can be traced back to the 12th century.
They are giants, and because they are giants, it is possible that they did this work thousands of years ago. It's quite possible because, like I said earlier, looking at the way the finish of the rock is at the peak, maybe 1/3 or so of the rock is made in such a way that gives it all that people want to come and see it as a wonder peak or as a tourist center. You see, because nowhere within this immediate region you find this kind of a rock and peak arrangement. And so I really believe the Nephilims lived, and so it could have been their work. How they did it, history has not passed it on to us as of present day, but it's possible they did it. That is another side of the story.
It is beyond human beings' formation. You cannot do that. How it is arranged, it is not 1, 2, or 3, or 10. They are arranged into segments, and very, very beautiful. This is not man's work.
When climbing these rocks, one can see 296 stairs in total that once led to the peak but have now been abandoned. These steps may have been the greatest strategy to preserve the granite for researchers and make it easier for tourists to ascend.
When I was appointed Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, it came to my mind that we have to preserve this place. That is why when I was the Commissioner, Culture and Tourism, I made a memo to the then Governor of Gombe State requesting him to at least do something in order to preserve the place, to attract people. People will be coming near and far to come and see this place. So he was convinced. He himself went to that place, he saw it, he said, yes, let us do it. That is why we awarded that contract, for people to make it very easy to climb up to the top. We have made provision for resting place, then finally on the top. And you have to undergo all these steps, which you have seen, we have started. But it has not been completed yet because 35% of the amount were only paid. So any incoming government, any government can complete that work.
Geologists have long debated the origins of the rocks that make up the enigmatic monument. Were they formed by the intense heat and pressure of the Earth's crust, or were they arranged by the hands of ancient humans? The truth may lie in the lost hamlet that once existed on the rock's surface, home to a society of hunters and farmers whose stories have been lost to time. We set out to neighboring Adamawa State, about 140 kilometers away from Billiri, to examine rocks which resemble the mystery rock in Gombe. Professor Yusuf Mamman of the Modibo Adama University explained the possible volcanic origins of the mysterious rocks.
The molten rock within the vent particularly will start solidifying by contraction. Now as it is contracting, it is also cracking. But the thing is, the solidification of the lava actually starts from the bottom of the ground, start from the bottom, from the top, where the temperature, of course, is cooler, and then from the sides. Because if you look at all around now, imagine up to 500, a vent of about 500 meters in diameter is filled up with a rock melt. Of course, the solidification will not start and finish at the same time. So it has to gradually start from the top and then from the sides. And in most of the cases, from what scientists have analyzed, the cracking normally starts from the top, and then it goes down to form these columns of joints.
But we're still left wondering about the true nature of this ancient wonder.
Sides are not very 6.
These could have been created by volcanic explosion. But how have these shapes held steady over time, and what research has been done on these sides?
All of these are natural geologic process. It has nothing to do with any human contribution into this. So, a human being has no hand in its formation, in the process. Maybe what I can say is that probably the prehistoric human beings or people, the communities when they were existing and saw this kind of thing, they may have probably worshipped it or do certain things with it, but certainly as to the process and formation, they have nothing to do with it. Because these things formed even before the existence of human beings, scientifically. The origin of this rock we are actually even sitting on is produced from volcanism. Rock melt formed deep inside the earth, and then it moved to the surface. Now, the greater part of it that was on the surface has been withered away. The remnant now is what we're seeing in form of the volcanic vent, and that formed this columnar jointing. And actually, when it formed, it was in the form of liquid melt, the lava. But as time goes on, it consolidated and solidified. And in the process after the solidification, it now contracted. Now, it is the contraction that actually, the pressure of the contraction is the one responsible for these cracks that we call the fractures that has formed, or we call the joints, columnar joints. We call columnar joints because if you look at it, it's forming vertical columns. And very interesting. Most of the columns are 6-sided, like this particular one. In other places, you find 5-sided columns. In some places, 4-sided columns. It's very interesting structure.
Even though research is still ongoing, it's a sad fact that most of these locations are gradually becoming construction sites for businesses in the construction sector, leading to the disappearance of these historic landmarks, and even more so, a lost narrative that will soon be forgotten.
Because even we as geologists, when we go to the field, we hardly destroy some of the geologic features we see. We always want them to be preserved. But you can see for economic reason, people now are mining this, quarrying this for use, for different purposes. If this one gets finished, they'll go to the next plug. And that one finishes, they will go to the next one. So it's actually good for government to sensitize people such natural structures, like geologic features, structures, like is done in many other countries, should be preserved. There are other many rocks that people can mine, no problem. But really, these are special features. So it's also good that we preserve them.
For within its walls may lie the secrets of a lost civilization, waiting to be uncovered before they fade into oblivion.